Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 248, and I'm Lisa, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry and Instagram. And there's also the Fiber Nymph Dyeworks account on Instagram, which is more specifically for my business. So you can find me in any of those places. There's also a Fiber Nymph Dyeworks page on Facebook if you want to follow me there to keep up with things. And of course, there's the 90% Knitting group on Ravelry, as well as Fiber Nymph Dyeworks group on Ravelry. So all the places in social media that you can find me and things about my yarn and the podcast. So how are you? Today is Monday. I hope you're having a good week. It's been a little over a week since I recorded. My recording schedule has been a little weird. Well, it's been a little over a week since I recorded a regular episode. I did the June prize winners recording last Monday. Oh my goodness, that was that was crazy. It was the Prize-a-Palooza episode, basically. But it worked out really well as a way for me to announce all of those prize winners since there were so many at one time. So, and I've actually heard, I believe, from everyone except one person, the winner of the June summertime knit along from the Fiber Nymph Dyeworks group. I have not heard yet from you, but I'll mention that again later in the podcast. So anyway, how are you? Hope you're having a good week. Hope you had a good weekend. Mine was good. We worked a lot this weekend, but that's okay because we played last week, which I'll talk about a little bit during 10% later on. I do have someone to welcome though. Nora from Colorado. She introduced herself in the welcome thread on the 90% knitting board. So welcome, Nora. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for doing that. And everyone else is always welcome to introduce themselves in that thread if you would like to. And even if you don't, I just would like to welcome you. Thank you for being here and watching me. I've got a good bit of knitting to show you this week. I have a good bit of a lot of things, and I'm not sure. Oh, okay. I thought I had something missing, but I don't. I've got a bunch of FOs to show you. So I'm going to start with those. And the first FO is actually 3 of the same thing. This, I believe I alluded to last week when I was talking to you. And this is a design that I've just recently written up. It's been test knit by a whole bunch of people. I've gotten their feedback, and so I'm now in the process of trying to get the pattern written up so that I can publish it, and I want to put some kits for this particular item in my shop and have them for the show that I'm doing in a couple of weeks, which is now less than 2 weeks away. So, you know, it's like all show prep all the time here right now. Anyway, let me tell you the background of this item. First of all, I'll tell you what it's called. It's called the Outdoorsy Headband and Neck Warmer. I know I could call it a cowl, but it's really not so much a cowl. I consider cowls like bigger, fuller, I don't know. This is more of just like a neck warmer. But let me tell you how this came about. You know, I do a lot of outdoorsy stuff. I like to go kayaking. I like to ride my bike. I hike sometimes in the winter. I, snowshoe and things like that. And, in the winter, it's more applicable to wear a full hat. But at this time of year, like when I'm out in my kayak first thing in the morning, it's warm, but the air is usually kind of chilly, and I don't want a hat on. I mean, I do wear a hat sometimes, but I thought, something just covering my ears is really what I want. So I started knitting this, and this is just with leftovers actually. This is the Mountain House Winter in Cozy, my Cozy base. And then this is some iron oxide red. So I started knitting with the Mountain House Winter colorway. It's a 2x2 rib. And I thought, this is nice, but I want it to be a little bit thicker. And so I decided to do the alternating color on the other half and make it so that it will fold over. So now I've got this double thickness ear warmer or headband or whatever you want to call it. And you can wear it either way. You can wear it with the stripy side out, or you can wear it with the semi-solid side out. Here, I'm going to try to put this on and show you. It looks kind of funny on me because my hair is short. So with somebody with longer hair, it would probably look a little bit better on. If I do it that way, it's not too bad. But that's what it looks like. And I like because it shows the little white stripe that's at the end of the self-striping. So, you know, I can wear it that way, or I can wear it with the stripy side out. But the other cool thing about it is if I don't really need it on my head, I could just wear it on my neck, opened up, with either side facing up, obviously. And this is actually really nice for when I'm riding one of the motorcycles. If I ride the motorcycle home in the morning, it's usually kind of chilly yet, even in the summer. And even though I have gear that's pretty warm, it's always like right here, the gap between the top of my jacket and my helmet that gets cold. So having a neck warmer on is awesome. And this is perfect for that. So I can wear it this way, or if it's like kind of windy out on the water or something, I can just wear it this way, and then it holds my hair out of my face too, so it can be worn open up. So it's really versatile, and I'm thinking, this is so cool because it's just this little simple knitted thing, and yet you can do so many things with it. And it's also light enough that I could wear it underneath my bicycle helmet if I want something covering my ears and it won't interfere with the helmet. So anyway, yeah, it's just a whole lot of fun. So I knit it up in worsted weight, and then I thought, you know what? I bet you could do it with fingering weight too. And so I did. I did one out of fingering weight. Same deal. The two different colors. It's reversible. You know, wear either side out, or wear it open as the neck warmer or the hairband, however you want to do it. And then I also did one, oh, this is my bounce space, by the way. This is Chrysocolla, this striping colorway, and then this is sand. And then I did one with hand spun. I just had, this was actually the end of a bobbin that I had run out of the other bobbin when I was plying. So this is just a 3-ply that ended up being sort of a heavy worsted weight. So I used that. And then this is some of my raspberry on cozy. So I did it with that too. And so I've got 3 of these now. And they're just so much fun, and I love them, and I love how versatile they are, and I thought these would make really good gifts. So anyway, what I'm planning to do, again, I'll be publishing the pattern. It'll be a short little pattern. All of the feedback I got from my test knitters was that it was super easy to do, easy to follow the pattern. It's a really good beginner knit. Like if you're a beginning knitter, or you know a beginning knitter and you want to buy it for them, it would be good for them. And again, it would make a really good gift item, I think, because it's easy, and who can't use it, really, especially because you can use it in so many different ways. So I'm going to be writing up the pattern, and I'm also going to be putting together kits. I haven't decided how I'm going to do the kits yet, if I'm going to do them just fingering or just worsted, or maybe have a kit that has both, enough to do both a fingering and a worsted weight version. But I'm working on that because I'm planning to take some to my show in a couple of weeks. But I think I will try to sneak a few of them into the shop next week, just so that you guys can have a grab at some of the first ones, because I've gotten a lot of encouragement from people on this project. So I want to put them out there for you. But anyway, those are my first 3 FOs, basically. They were done last week, but I couldn't show them to you because I still had them out to test knitters. So I wanted to wait till they were a little bit closer to being ready to be published. So I do anticipate having the pattern itself published and for sale on Ravelry sometime this week. That is my goal. So, and then the kits hopefully will be ready next week. All right, so those are 3 FOs. Then I have 2 other FOs that I couldn't show you last week because they were related to my club yarn, the Legends, Myths, and Fairy Tales Club. The first shipment went out at the end of June, and not everybody had the yarn yet by the time I had these finished, so I wanted to hold off until this week because I'm pretty sure everybody probably has their yarn by now. I wanted to knit a sample to send a picture in the letter that I send with my clubs, because this is a self-striping yarn, but it's got variegated stripes in it, and those are really hard to represent just doing like a mock-up in my Photoshop software, which is what I usually do for self-striping. So when I have variegated or other odd stripes incorporated, I try to knit up a sample so that it can be shown as it will actually knit up. So what I did, this is all heavyweight yarn in this club, by the way. So I used the worsted weight base, Cozy, and I knit up a mitt for the purpose of putting the picture in. So this was the first mitt that I knit. And this was based on an Irish folktale called Fair, Brown, and Trembling. I always get the names wrong. It's basically a Cinderella story. If you've never read it, I'll put the link to the text because you can find the text online. I'll put that in the show notes. It was a really interesting story because it was very Cinderella-ish, and then it kind of went off in these weird directions with like some almost Jonah and the whale kind of thing and just other elements of other tales that you may have heard. Very interesting story. But anyway, the stripes, and so I had the one done for the picture. Then I figured, well, I've got the one done, I might as well do the other mitt. And this isn't actually even a pattern. This is just a basic mitt that I knit up knowing how I've knit mitts in the past. And then I did an afterthought thumb in them. So just like an afterthought heel, I cut in the stitches for the thumb and picked them up. Well, I picked them up and then I cut. So these are the mitts that I knit with the Fair, Brown, and Trembling yarn. So, and the variegated stripes represent the 3 different outfits that the fairy godmother character of this story gave to Trembling, who is kind of the Cinderella character in the story. So those were the mitts, and they only took up about half of the skein of yarn. So I decided, well, I will knit a hat with the other half because you can get a basic beanie out of half a skein of worsted weight. And so I knit a barley hat. I've never knit a barley hat before, which I think I'm probably one of the last people, one of the last knitters in the world to, okay, that looks jaunty. I don't know what I'm doing here. All right. Anyway, I'm probably one of the last people to knit a barley hat. I think everybody has knit a barley hat, but I have not. But I have now. So I actually kind of liked how, okay, that looks funny on me right at the moment. I like how the garter stitch panel in the barley hat shows the striping really differently than the stockinette part. I think it's so cool. So I'm glad I chose this pattern to show off the yarn. Anyway, it used up the entire skein of yarn. I'm always really glad when I can do that. I think I have like maybe 5 yards left or something. Not even 5 yards. I think I had 5 grams. That's less than 5 yards. Anyway, yeah, so more finished objects, which is very exciting. And I knit both of those on US 7s. I did the little garter band in the hat on 5s, but then I did 7s for the others. Okay, so then I was on a roll. I was in my basement last week one day, and that's where a lot of my deep stash is stored. And since I've been in the process of, you know, we're doing stuff in the basement, we're working and painting and doing the ceiling and all that. So everything is getting moved around down there. And I've, in that process, come across a whole lot of my deep stash that it's not that I forgot that it was there. I just haven't looked at it a lot lately. So I came across this one bin, and I could see through, because it was a plastic bin, that it had a bunch of cotton yarn in it, which I purchased for the purpose of doing dishcloths. And I thought, oh, you know what, I should pull a ball of that out because I can do a dishcloth really quick. They're nice palette cleanser kind of projects. And, you know, it'll be stash meterage and everything. So I opened that bin, and then I realized there was other stuff in there too. It's a very weird collection. Usually I keep my stash segregated a little bit better, but there was wool in there, and then there was fun fur. Yeah, you know, do I have it here? I don't. I kind of got into knitting right at the end of that fun fur eyelash yarn kind of craze when everybody was making those big loose scarves out of that kind of yarn. I remember when I worked at the yarn shop, we had a lot of it because it had been such a big thing. We didn't sell a whole lot of it at that point. That craze sort of had died down by the time I really got into knitting. However, it didn't stop me from buying some that I thought was kind of cool. And I had purchased this blue fun fur yarn, which you can, oh, here it is. This is what's left. I purchased this along, 2 balls of this along with some LRA Classic, which is 100% wool, in this blue color because I thought those would look really nice together in a scarf. But I never knit the scarf until last week when I pulled these yarns out and I thought, you know what, I should just knit this scarf just for the heck of it. Not that I really felt the need to have a big Muppet looking scarf. But it was actually kind of fun, and it went so fast. It took me 2 days. I have not trimmed this fringe yet. It's really looking raggy. It needs trimmed. But anyway, I knit this out of 1 ball of LRA Classic, which is 100% wool, not superwash, just wool, in this really pretty aqua oceany blue color. You can kind of see it there on the end, the cast on end. If I can get it to focus. I don't know. Anyway, there you go. So it's that blue. And then I had 2 balls of this. These were only 50 gram balls? Yeah, 25 or 50. I don't know. They had about 100 yards each. The LRA had 200 yards, so it worked out pretty well. I just held it double the whole way. I worked it lengthwise over 140 stitches, I believe, on a US 9, which if I had a bigger needle like a US 11, I would have used it, but I didn't have any metal US 11s in a 32-inch cable. So my largest gauge needle I had was 9 in a metal cable on that one, because this really needed a slippery needle so that it wouldn't stick. Anyway, so yeah, 140 stitches. I worked it lengthwise, and at the end of each row, I cut them off. I cut the yarn and just started again, and then I was knotting it as I went to create the fringe. So basically, I've got this really big, it's quite dense actually because of the 2 yarns, and this yarn, even though it looks light, it's kind of heavy because this is polyester and nylon. So it is actually a very dense yarn, but you know what? It's snuggly, and it'll just kind of be a fun thing to wear this winter, I think. I wasn't sure if it would really end up being long enough to double because I only did 140 stitches, but it is, and I think it'll tuck into a coat okay. It's just silly. It's so funny. If you follow me on Instagram, I think it was on my regular Fiber Nymph account, I posted a picture of this next to those 2 Muppet aliens that did the yip, 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 yip telephone, that little thing. Do you remember that from Sesame Street? If I remember, I will put that picture in here too, because honestly, all he needs is eyeballs and antennas, and he would look like one of those alien Muppet monsters. It was just something fun. But you know what? It used like 400 yards of yarn. So that was like a lot of meterage to put towards Stash Dash. And I got some super, super, super deep stashed yarn out of my collection. So with that being done, the furry scarfie is what I'm calling it. That takes my Stash Dash total now up to 4,251 meters that I have knit during Stash Dash. So I'm not quite to 50%, although I probably am if I consider things that I have not added in yet, like additional crocheting that I've done on my granny stripes blanket, half knit objects, you know, like socks, which you can include. So I don't know. We'll see. But I'm nearing the halfway point, so I'm happy about that. Okay, so those are all of my FOs. I do have things that I've worked on that I'm going to show you. I've got my son's Afghan that, oh, I don't know what those needles are. Anyway, those may have been the needles I used for that scarf, actually. Okay, my son's Afghan. You haven't seen this in a couple weeks, so I thought I would show it to you. It's grown, but not tremendously. I'm having a hard time really getting into this. I forget where it was the last time. I think maybe that first white stripe was where I had ended. So I've added a few more stripes, and I like it. It's coming along. It's just taking me a long time because this bulky yarn on US 11s, I think it's 11s, I don't know, it's a big needle. It just takes me a long time. I can't knit more than a couple of inches before my hands start to hurt, so then I have to stop. I should be working on it a little bit every day, but I'm not. because I'm just having trouble being really excited about this, which is really irritating me because it's a gift and I want it to be infused with good knitting vibes, right? I don't know what is keeping me from being more enthused about it than I am. I love how it looks. I love the colors. I love the feel of the yarn. This is that All Things You premium acrylic yarn from Pat Catan's that I've been telling you about. It feels really nice. I don't know how it's going to hold up and wash up, but it feels nice. Yeah, so I'm doing it in the 4 different colors, the black, the gray, the off-white, and the taupe kind of color. So I will keep plugging away at it, but I did make a little bit of progress on it. Also, I have worked on, I'm pretty sure I showed this to you in the first half of it. I don't remember if it was last week or the week before that I showed it to you, but it's the big ribbed squishy thing that I'm basically calling it. So, whoopsie. I just dropped the little leftover. Anyway, this is what it looks like so far. So this is not a pattern. Basically, I started knitting this after I had done these because I thought, if I made this bigger, it could be a really voluptuous, squishy cowl. So I'm sort of doing the same thing I did on the headbands, but not exactly, other than the fact that it's also 2x2 rib. So I started out using my Rendezvous colorway, which is this really pretty pink and yellow and peachy variegated and speckled color, which I love how that knit up. I just, sometimes I dye my colors, but I don't always get to knit with all of them. So when I do and I get to see them, it's so much fun. I really love how that knit up. And then when I got to about 75% done with that first ball of yarn, I started striping in the semi-solid electric purple. Now, I got to tell you, I think you saw it before I started adding the electric purple. I had a vision for what I was going to do with incorporating this electric purple in the midsection of this, and this was not it. I know this looks like it's just continued ribbing, but it's actually not. There's some straight knit rows in there to eliminate those little blips you get when you purl from one color to the next. So yeah, that's in there in the electric purple. So it's actually almost giving it sort of a waffly texture, almost like what the blueberry waffle socks pattern looks like. That's sort of what that looks like. I'm not sure. If I hold it closer, maybe you can tell. A little bit. Anyway, so I did that, and using 75% of that first color allowed me enough to work through 3 stripe segments of both colors. So the purple and then the rendezvous, purple, rendezvous, purple, rendezvous. Now I'm just on the electric purple and I'm just back to the 2x2 ribbing with that. And that's what I'll do until that ball is done, and then I will bind off and then we'll see what this thing is. Obviously, this is going to be quite deep. I'm really interested to see how I end up being able to wear it. Obviously, being 2x2 rib, it is super stretchy. I mean, you can see how much it's stretching just now, even while it's still on the needles. I don't want to pull too much, but anyway, yeah. But as I was trying to work through a couple of different ideas that I had for what I wanted to do with these stripes, I ended up tinking back a couple of, or actually not tinking back, but ripping back and then picking all those stitches back up a couple of different times before I settled on just doing this. I still want to play with the idea I originally had, but I'm going to probably have to do that just on some scrap yarn and mess with it to see if I can figure out how to make it work without having a lot of weird floats in the back. That was my issue. So anyway, the big ribbed squishy thing is coming along. I love knitting things where I'm like, I don't really know what this is going to be, but it's fun to knit, and I'm having a lot of fun working with this yarn. So there is that. I also worked on socks this week. The Never Not Color socks, which the first one has been done for a while. So this is my anniversary colorway that I dyed up this year. Never Not Color, and this is on my bounce base. And so I've made a good bit of progress on this sock actually since the last time you saw it, because I was just up here in the beginning part the last time you saw it. I finished the cuff, did the heel flap, the heel turn, and I've picked up the gusset, and I'm doing the gusset decreases now. And again, every time I do them, heels are magic. These heel flap heels and turning a heel, it's always magic. No matter how many times I've done it in my knitting career, I just love it. So anyway, yeah, so that's coming along. These may end up being my mother's birthday gift this year. I originally thought these would be a good choice, but then I remembered the other socks that she has, they're more of a ribbed sock. And even though her feet and my feet are pretty much the same size, her legs are a little thinner than mine. I've got some really meaty calves, muscular calves, and hers are, she's thinner. Her legs are thinner than mine. So I'm not really sure if a regular stockinette sock would stay up on her as well as a ribbed sock. So I'm rethinking that. This may not be hers. I do have a skein of the Elvis Has Left the Building colorway that I put in the update the last time, the Penguins colorway, which I'm going to explain that name in just a second. And she's a Pens fan, and so I may end up doing my Whimsy sock pattern for her out of that, because that has ribbing in it, and I think that might, and cables, it might stay up a little bit better. So we'll see. I'm still playing with that idea. And being a sport weight sock, it would knit up fairly quickly, so we'll see. But I did make progress on these, so those, I'm hoping these will be done by next week when I record, actually. That would be good. I would like to have those finished. Let me tell you now. Okay, so my last update, I did a new colorway called Elvis Has Left the Building. It is the black and gold and white self-striping, and the self-striping pattern mimics the striping pattern in the Penguins jerseys. It was pointed out to me on one of the groups, I don't remember if it was the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group or the 90% Knitting group, but it was pointed out to me that I never actually explained that name. And it was by a Pittsburgh, actually it was Sarah, PA Knitwit. So she totally understands the Elvis Has Left the Building reference. But if you are not a Pens fan and not from Pittsburgh, you may not know. One of the Penguins announcers, Mike Lang, he has all of these crazy sayings that he says during the games, like scratch my back with a hacksaw, and like all this stuff. Well, his one really famous thing that he says is Elvis has left the building, and he says that when the Pens have either won or they're on the verge of winning. Like, you know, a victory is imminent when Elvis has left the building. And so that is where that comes from. It has absolutely nothing to do with Elvis Presley, other than that's the original reference. But that's why it is associated with the Pittsburgh Penguins hockey team, is from Mike Lang doing that during announcing games. So I just thought I would share that in case you were totally confused, or maybe you didn't care, but I thought it would be a good idea to at least clarify that for those of you who might be wondering why Elvis Has Left the Building has anything to do with hockey. That is why. Alrighty. Let's see. I think that's everything I worked on this week. Oh, no, it's not. I did work on my Granny Stripes blanket, and I told you I'd bring it this week to show you. It's getting so big. Oh my gosh. It's up to 37 inches long now, which means I'm past the halfway point, because 72 inches is my goal. So, okay. I don't even know how I'm going to show this to you. All right. It's the width of our queen size bed. So whatever that is, that's how wide this is. So I can't show you the entire width, but here is the length basically. So that's the bottom, and here's the top. It is really big right now. I mean, this is not something to be working on in the heat of summer, but in the cool mornings or cool evenings, I can do it. And I think I had mentioned I had hesitated to work on this during Stash Dash because I was not sure if the added rows that I'm doing on this, the added meters would count for stash dash because it didn't used to, but this year it does. So now I don't feel bad at all. Everything from this stitch marker on up through this little stitch marker that you really can't see very well right here, right before this blue. All of those rows were done with minis that I got from Lori, who is the Frosted Cow on Ravelry. She was one of the people I did a mini swap with earlier this year. Remember, I did my own kind of private mini swap. So I used all of her yarns in that section. So that's pretty cool. So thank you, Lori, for giving me a nice big chunk of my blanket. And now from that little marker, which is right here, on up, I think there's maybe 3 yarns I've used. I'm doing all of the little minis that I got from Tommy, who is Dynamite Trujillo. And she has the Squirrel Pie podcast, by the way, which is super cute. You should watch. Anyway, yeah, so I'm working on Tommy's, and that's what I decided to do. I'm going to just do, like, all the people who gave me minis in the mini swap, I'm going to do all of their yarns in a row so that I have just big chunks of minis from specific people. I like that idea. So yeah, so now I am working on the ones from Tommy. So that's exciting. She sent me some really fun colors. Actually, so did Lori. I mean, that's the fun part of doing those mini swaps. It's like you get all these yarns that you don't necessarily, they wouldn't be ones you'd buy, but then you get them and they're fun and different and it's exciting. So anyway, so this is my blanket. It is coming along. I waited before I started working on it for Stash Dash, and it was at 744 grams. And so I waited again this morning, and it's like up to, I think, 810 or something. I don't remember. It's 800, right over 800 somewhere. And so that's how I'm going to measure my meterage for Stash Dash. I'm going to go by the grams. This is all fingering weight yarn. And even though fingering weight varies a little here and there, I'm going to just go with the average of 4 yards per grams and then convert from there. That'll be the easiest way to do that. And I included my scale picture in my project page, so it'll be there to verify where I was before I started working on it for Stash Dash. So I feel like that'll help add on extra meters for places where I'm falling behind in meters. Yeah. Anyway, so that is everything I worked on that way. I did do some spinning though, up at the mountain house this week. This looks very green on here. I don't know why. It's much more blue. Maybe if I hold it back. There, maybe if I hold it against me, it looks blue. This is the blue BFL that I'm still working on up there. I filled this bobbin. Right now, that's the thing. I'm filling bobbins essentially because every time I ply, I'm doing a traditional 3-ply. Every time I ply, I end up with 2 bobbins that still have singles left on them and 1 runs out. So this is a full bobbin that I've spun, and now I'm working on filling 2 other bobbins so that I can do another 3-ply skein. I almost finished another one this morning, but I ran out of time before I had to come here. So by next week, that one should be done. Maybe the other one will be too. That would be awesome. Because I'll tell you what, if I finish all of this blue fiber, I can count all of my spinning of this blue fiber for Stash Dash, and that's a huge significant chunk of the meterage that I was counting on having for Stash Dash. So that really, really is like a goal for me. I would love to get that blue fiber finished. Yeah, I think I'm going to make it a priority. Plus, it's on my Traveler, and I love spinning on my Traveler. I have a Ashford Traveler and a Shacked Sidekick. I like my Sidekick. It's great for plying because I've got the jumbo flyer for it, so I can make really big skeins when I'm plying. It's okay to spin on. There's nothing wrong with it, like with the regular bobbins, but I'll tell you what, I love my Traveler. It was a secondhand wheel when I got it. It's kind of rickety. It really could use a good overhaul and tightening and whatever needs to be done to it. But honestly, I just love that wheel. It's so comfortable to spin on. It's relaxing for me. It's just the feel of it, you know. It's my favorite spinning tool that I have, quite honestly. I've been doing a little bit of random like drop spindling here and there, but nothing significant, nothing worth showing you. Just kind of when I have a few free minutes, I might pick up a drop spindle and do that, but I'm not really counting it towards anything at this point. So that really kind of encompasses my Tour de Fleece stuff. I have not been successful at spinning every single day for Tour de Fleece, but I've probably been averaging about every other day. But that's just because we've been super busy with other things, and I literally just have not had the time to sit down and spin. Like this weekend, I had no time to sit down and spin, so it just wasn't going to happen. Alrighty, so that is everything that I worked on this week. I have a new thing to show you, and it's not really something that I'm going to review at this point because I have not had a chance to use it, but it came last week, and I can't remember if when I was telling you about TNNA, if I mentioned this or not, because I didn't have it yet, but Attenti, who is a bag maker, had a booth there. And I've never purchased an Attenti bag before because I just haven't. They have really big ones, like they're nice like overnight bags and things, and the Loopy U carries those. I've never actually seen in person any of their other bags though. So when I was at TNNA and we passed their booth, I saw all their other bags, and they're really cool bags. Very unique fabrics, just really interesting. Well, we passed their booth and I saw this one bag immediately and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is awesome. And it was the fabric that I really was talking about. And Bill was like, okay. He's like, I'm not sure, but well, it's interesting. And I kept seeing it because we kept walking past there. So this is it. Oh my gosh. I just couldn't let it go. And so at one point during the day on Saturday at TNNA, Bill needed to go to the bathroom. So he went off, and honestly, it was not on purpose, but I found myself back at the Attenti booth, and I ordered this bag because you order them ahead and then they make them, and I got it shipped. And I was able to get it wholesale since technically I am a vendor, a retail vendor. I have no intention of carrying these, but I was upfront about that. I said, you know, I don't resell stuff like this, but I do a podcast, and I would love to review one of your bags if I can get one at wholesale. And they were very happy to sell it to me that way. So this is called the Mod bag. That's the style. And it's llama. It's not real llama fur. It's artificial llama. All of their bags are made, I'm pretty sure all of their bags are made with all man-made materials. I haven't used it yet, but every time I pass it, I just pet it because it makes me so happy. I have a thing for furry purses. I have another one that my kids bought me one year for Christmas, only because I said, I love that purse, and they bought it for me. Something about furry purses. And I've named this one Carl. If you are a Llamas in Hats fan, you'll know why I named it Carl. My daughter has warned me about it eating my hands, but you know. So it's got this great opening, and it could eat my hand. And that's the inside. It's meant to be a knitting bag, but you could pretty much use it as anything. And I am going to start using it, and then I will do an actual bona fide review of it. It's just, I love it. And I love this fabric up here. This real Southwest looking fabric, and it's got this little, I don't know what those are called, that little buckle kind of thing. But anyway, I just am so happy with this bag. It's funny, I have an Light, like one of the floor lamps that has the gooseneck on it, so it's like up and then it goes out. And it's kind of permanently in my hallway because I use it whenever I take my photos for the shop. And it's been hanging on my lamp. Mainly so that it's out of the reach of my cat, because my cat will destroy this. Anything that has fur on it, she will destroy. She has like mutilated the hood of a winter coat that I have that has fake fur around the hood. Yeah, I find clumps of black fur if I leave that coat out on a chair or something. So I'm keeping it out of my cat's reach, but I just love this. Furry things are apparently a theme this week between my furry scarf and now my furry purse. Anyway, that's my new thing this week. Let's move on. I'm going to give you a chance for your new thing now because I reviewed the Ablet Knitting Abacus bracelet on the last podcast. And I set up a drawing thread because Sharon from the Knitting Abacus was kind enough to offer one of these rainbow abacus bracelets as a giveaway. So I did the random number generator to draw the winner before I started recording. And we had 41 entries. There were 42 posts. The first one was mine. So I did a drawing between 2 and number 42, and random number generator chose post number 37, who is Michael 4U2, Mikal 4U2. And I actually know Michael. She is local. She's Pittsburgh based. So congratulations, Michael. You have been the winner of the stitch mark of the not the stitch marker, of the Knitting Abacus, I'm sorry. And the question that I asked that was the prompt for this drawing was, what is the craziest way you've ever tried to keep track of your knitting? Stitches, rows, repeats, etc. If you didn't have an actual row counter handy. Or if that doesn't apply to you, then, you know, tell us what projects you work on most or what you would work on that the Knitting Abacus would come in handy for. So Michael's answer, she wrote, wow, that bracelet looks really interesting. I love to try new things and this would be great. I usually use hash marks to keep track of rows and stitches. This method would really be good for my next pattern sock project, which I'll be starting on August 1st. Well, congratulations, Michael. When you see this, please PM me and let me know that you won and give me your mailing address and I will get that to Sharon and Sharon will be sending you your Knitting Abacus directly. So yay, congratulations and thank you to everyone who took part in that drawing. And I will just remind you, if you didn't win and you'd still like to get one, there is a coupon code available for Sharon's shop, which is FiberNymph15, all capital letters, FIBERNYMPH 15. That is good through July 19th for 15% off any purchase from her shop. The website is knittingabacus.com. All right, so that is our giveaway. As I said, all of the drawing winners from last week from the addendum episode have contacted me except one, and that was CRZ Jane. And that was for the Summertime Cal in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group. You were the June winner, Jane, so please PM me so I can get your prize out to you. Send me your mailing address and I will get that mailed out to you. Other than that, let's talk about the knit along that we're having in the 90% knitting group. And oh, I wanted to say also, you other prize winners, except for people, the one who won patterns, which have been gifted to that person already, I still have not put the prizes in the mail, but I will be doing that probably within the next day or two. So they are coming, I'm honest. Just have not had a chance to do all those yet. Okay, so a year in the life of a knitter. We are in July, which is the summer quarter. So July, August, September, our themes are fun, travel, and relaxation. Our July focus is the stockinette stitch, which if your projects include the stockinette stitch, that's pretty relaxing. So you can, yeah, for the knit along, you can be knitting anything, but our July focus is stockinette stitch, and that is related to our July challenge this time too, which is Christmas in July gift knitting, and that must be started and finished within July. It must be a gift knit, and that, I'm again pretty broad. Any winter, holiday, or birthday, that will qualify. And it can be any type of project that includes at least 75% stockinette stitch. So that is a requirement for this one. And it must use a minimum of 50 yards of yarn, any weight. I did have someone ask how this one will apply to sewers since it includes stockinette stitch. And unfortunately, this one doesn't. All of the challenges do not actually apply to all of the crafts that are involved in a year in the life of a knitter. I mean, obviously, if you're doing sewing or weaving or crochet or anything else this month, you are more than welcome to post all the things you're doing and talk about it as many times as you want in the main thread. And those are all entries into the main thread drawings, the summer quarter drawings. But for this challenge, it is specific to knitting. And some of the challenges have been specific to certain crafts, and some of them have been open to all of the crafts. I'm trying to balance that as best I can, but sometimes, yeah, sometimes it doesn't work. And quite honestly, I don't know enough about some of the other crafts to know, like, what would the equivalent of stockinette be in sewing or in crochet, or I just don't know if there is an equivalent to that. So rather than try to make something up, I just went with it's just knitting this time. I'm sorry if that leaves some of you out. I feel bad, but again, it doesn't leave you out from the monthly drawings in general. It just leaves you out from this particular challenge. So Tour de Fleece, again, we do have a Tour de Fleece chatter thread, not a team, but a chatter thread. So if you'd like to take part in there, please join us. There's a few of us who keep chattering regularly about our spinning and everything. I did not get any feedback at all about interest about a Spinzilla team for October, and so I'm going to just drop that. The more I think about it, if there's not interest, then that's fine. There's tons of other Spinzilla teams that you can join if you want to. I may just do another chatter thread for something like that. I just know that I personally do not have time to be the team captain for a Spinzilla team. I'm happy to sponsor one if somebody else wants to take the helm, but I think since we didn't get any feedback on that, I'm just going to drop that idea for now. So, okay, 10%. We're at 10% now. Our 4th of July was really nice. Bill and I went kayaking. Well, we went paddling. I kayaked. He was in his solo canoe. And we went on the Yacht, the river. We did about 13 miles. It's pretty easy paddling. He didn't want to take me on anything too crazy because I'm still new to my kayak. And I also don't have a lot of experience doing, higher rapids. These were like class 1 rapids. I've never probably done more than class 2, I don't think, not in a kayak anyway. So it was a lot of fun. It was a beautiful day. I got a tan. It was a gorgeous day. We had a lot of fun. We were out there a little over 4 hours, so it was an all-day event by the time we drove there and parked the car and did our shuttle. We had 2 cars so that we could shuttle from the other end as well. But it was a lot of fun. He took his canoe, though. It's pretty funny because he's a very experienced kayaker. I've talked about that before. And he's like, I could take one of my kayaks, but I would be bored to death because there is nothing exciting on any part of this stretch of the river that would give me anything to do other than straight paddling, and that would bore me to tears. So he took his solo canoe because he's like, that's actually a little more technical, trying to get through certain areas in a canoe compared to a kayak. And so that's what he did. And oh my gosh, it was funny because he kept trying to just make more difficult things for himself to do. I'm just paddling away on my kayak, taking pictures of things, having a good old time. It was a nice day. We had a really good time. So anyway, my other thing to tell you about, to continue the furry things theme. Oh my gosh. If you're on Instagram, you probably already saw this picture, but I'm going to put it in here. Yes, that is a really angry chipmunk in a Tupperware container. One of the cats up at the mountain house, this happens with some regularity. They bring in living things, Well, I was up there. Bill had already gone off to work, and I had taken a shower, and I was just coming out of the bathroom, and I heard this loud chirp. And I thought, a bird got in the house. Because sometimes they'll bring birds in too. But then I walked out to the dining room, and Muffin was sitting in her little bed right by the china cabinet. And the one cat, Princess, was sitting by the china cabinet, just staring under it. Just sitting there, and I'm like, she brought something in. So I shooed her away, and she's like, whatever. And I didn't hear it chirp anymore, but I could hear scrambling. And so I got the flashlight, and I'm looking. Well, I can't see anything. And we have baseboard heat, and so the ductwork was behind the china cabinet, and I could hear it up in the baseboard because I could hear it scraping against the metal. And so I texted Bill. I'm like, hey, we've got a living thing in the baseboard. What should I do? It's behind the china cabinet. And I had to go too because I needed to get home here to work, to my house. And he's like, well, you can't leave yet. Oh my gosh, think about he said, it's a chipmunk. I'm almost positive it'll be a chipmunk. He's like, you've got to get it out. I'm like, okay. He's like, you've got to move the china cabinet. I'm thinking, are you serious? I didn't think I could do that, but it actually slid very easily because we have wood floors. So I was able to slide it out enough to get back in there with the flashlight. He's like, just get a Tupperware container. You can catch it. So I'm armed with a Tupperware container and a wooden spoon and the flashlight. And I can see him. I can see him up in there, and he's all huddled in the corner. And the one end of it, there's like an end cap thing on the ductwork that flips up, and that's where he was. So I flipped it up with the spoon. Well, he ran. He like took off, and he ran along that side of the wall, past my dog Muffin, who's in her kennel or her bed, just like, huh, what, you know. And went to the other corner that's right there in the dining room where there's a fire extinguisher that sits on the floor in that corner. It's behind the fire extinguisher. I'm like, okay, cool. So I went to the kitchen and we have a really big cutting board. So I got the cutting board and I like kind of put it in that corner crossways. So like, here's the corner, here's where the chipmunk is behind the thing. So I put the cutting board here thinking I'm creating a wall for this chipmunk. I can get the container in there, get the chipmunk, no problem. That chipmunk jumped over that cutting board like it was nothing. So he jumped over the cutting board, over me, over my arm, ran into the kitchen. I had left the cabinet open where the Tupperware is. I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't be in the cabinet. Well, he wasn't. He ran around the island in the kitchen and darted down the hallway towards the bedrooms. Now, thankfully, we keep all the bedroom door closed all the time because of the cats, and we don't want the cats in the bedrooms getting everything furry. So, thankfully, it was a dead end for him. He could not go anywhere else. He was trying to scramble under the doors, but they were too narrow. He couldn't get under there. But one of Muffin's dog beds is down at the end of the hall. So, it was behind the dog bed and between the dog bed and the wall. So I got to the end of the hall. In the meantime, I'm running down the hall yelling, just calm down, it'll be okay. I'm yelling this to the chipmunk like it cares. So I get down there and I squish the chipmunk against the wall with the bed, knowing I'm really not going to hurt it. Well, man, he scrambled up out of there and darted across me again and went back down the hall into the kitchen, past Muffin again, who's now standing there like, what are you doing? You know? He ended up back down behind the china cabinet, back in the ductwork again. And at that point, I was able to like lift it up and I grabbed him and I got him between, like I got him in the Tupperware against the wall, and I didn't have the lid for the Tupperware container. So I'm like stretching with the spoon, trying to reach the lid that was on the floor way behind me. I finally did catch the poor thing, thank goodness. But that's when I took that picture, because you can't like release a chipmunk that you've just caught without taking pictures for social media. He did not look happy. He was not not in a good mood. I'm thinking, well, you need to stay away from the cats. Thankfully, he looked totally unharmed. I think Princess just sort of gently carried him in because she wanted to play. She does play with her friends that she brings in, as opposed to one of Bill's former cats who he's like, yeah, he would have just eaten the head off of it immediately and it would have been done. So after I took the picture, I did take him outside and released him in what appeared to be a fairly cat-free zone, and he took off immediately. And I think he swore at me in Chipmunk too as he left. Not a thank you even, but yeah. So that was my adventure this week. So it's been a furry trifecta of a week here. Craziness. Anyway, let's talk about shop news, shall we? We've got the Summertime KAL going on in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group. It is July. July is the month for semi-solids. So please be knitting or crocheting or crafting, whatever you're crafting, with semi-solids from Fiber Nymph Dye Works, and then you can put them in the finished object thread over there and be entered in the drawing at the end of the month for a prize. Again, if you enter qualifying objects in July, June, July, and August, then that qualifies you for some of the big prizes that we'll have at the very, very end. So if you participated in June, please keep going so you can maybe get one of those. If you have any questions, just PM me, but we've got some good activity going on over there, so thank you for that. I am prepping madly for my show on the 22nd, which is the Gypsy Stardust Yarn and Fiber Festival, which is Saturday the 22nd from 10 to 4 in Harrison City, PA, which is really close to me. So if you are anywhere near the Pittsburgh area, this would be a fun little show to go to. Lots of cool vendors. I will put the Facebook page link in the show notes so you can check out all of the vendors for that. I really hope you'll show up. It's a brand new show, first time, so we'd love to get word out and have as many people come as possible. But pretty much all of my dyeing that I'm doing right now is for that show. I have a few special orders I'm also dyeing, including the Inspired by You stuff. I shipped a whole bunch of those out on Saturday. So if you ordered one of the Inspired by You, either skeins or sock blanks, they should be coming to you super soon. So keep watching for those. I have the last few because some didn't get ordered right away. They got ordered a little bit later, or I didn't get the pictures until later. So those are coming out a little bit later than the other ones. But between that, other than that, it's mostly show dyeing right now. But I am doing an update this Wednesday, and it's for a really special thing. It's a pre-order update for one item, and I have been excited about this item for months and months now. I've been planning this, and it's finally time that I can tell you about it. These are pre-orders for what I'm calling my daily holiday countdown collections. You may have seen in the past, other yarn companies have done, I think Opal has done one, the little advent calendar, the yarn advent calendars where you get like 24 doors to open or little packages to open every day leading up to Christmas. And that's what this is going to be. I'm calling it the holiday countdown though, because even though there will be 24 things for you to open, if you do not celebrate Christmas, you can adapt it to whatever holiday you do celebrate and count down to that in whatever way you would like using those. So I didn't want to make it Christmas specific in that way. But here is how this is going to work. It's going to be 24 days of individually wrapped and numbered yarny or fibery goodness little packages. So you're going to have an option. You can either get all of them in yarn, and if you do yarn, that will be 10-gram balls. So 10-gram ball is about this size. Okay, and they all will be pre-wound into balls so you can work with them immediately. So 10-gram balls, it'll be on my various fingering weight bases, so it's not going to be all one base. You'll get a mix of bases, and it will be a mix of self-striping colorways and variegated and speckled colorways. So that's the yarn option. Or you can get a fiber option, and if you get the fiber option, you will get 24 individual little 1/4 ounce bumps, which this is about a 1/4 ounce bump. If you open it up, it would be about, I don't know, probably 16 inches long of roving or top, 1/4 ounce of various fiber bases, so not just one, and they will be a mix of variegated and tonal colorways. And I think these would be so much fun because especially if you're a drop spindler, you could just like drop spindle this in a day, and like by the time you're done, you would have so many fun little minis from your drop spindling. That would excite me. Anyway, so you can do either all yarn or all fiber, or you have a choice. You can get a combo. You'll get 12 days of yarn, 12 days of fiber in the same makeup. So self-striping, variegated for the yarn, or variegated and tonal for the fiber. That'll all be mixed in together. Additionally, I'm adding an optional full skein of yarn, which would be 100-gram skein, or a full 4-ounce braid of fiber for day 25. If you want a special gift for yourself for Christmas or whatever your holiday is that you celebrate, you will have the option of getting a full skein or a full braid of fiber, and that will be in an exclusive colorway just for this holiday collection, this countdown collection. It won't be in the shop at all other than just in this collection. So all of these collections, I'm doing these pre-orders now. I know it seems super early, although, you know, Christmas in July. I'm doing these pre-orders now for multiple reasons. One of which is so that I know how many I'm going to have to put together, because these are going to be rather time consuming to put together. And I don't really want to limit how many I do. I want to be able to do as many as you guys want to order. So doing it now gives me that opportunity to make sure I get all of my yarn in that I need to dye these, the fiber, and to get them dyed, and to get them split into all these tiny little amounts and individually wrapped and everything, so that I can get them all shipped out by November 1st. They will all go into the mail by November 1st, so that way you'll have them in plenty of time to count down to whatever winter celebration that you want to do and use them for. I will say, I said they'll be all individually wrapped. The wrapping will be non-holiday specific, so it will not like specifically be Christmassy. I'm going to aim for like doing kind of wintry sort of wrapping. That's my goal. Yeah, so hopefully that will be okay for everybody. I guess I can't really guarantee that there won't be a tree. I don't know. Is a Christmas tree okay even if you don't celebrate Christmas? I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. But anyhow, they will ship by November 1st. Pricing. Here's the deal. They're all going to be different prices, obviously, just because they're different makeups. The yarn ones are going to be $68. So if you get all yarn, it'll be $68. All fiber is $26.50, which is a lot more affordable because it's fiber, not yarn. The combo of half yarn, half fiber is $47.25. However, because I'm doing these pre-orders now, I am offering all of these for a 10% discount. So all the yarn will be $61.20, all fiber will be $23.85, and all the combo will be $42.50. I'm doing this for 2 weeks. These pre-orders are going to go up on the 12th, and they'll be up through the 26th of July at those discounted prices. Additionally, if you opt for the full skein add-on, which would be $28 regularly, it'll be discounted as well for 10%, so $25.20, and the full braid, which will be Falkland. The full skein will be Bounce. The full braid will be Falkland fiber, which is ordinarily $18 for 4 ounces. It will be $16.20 instead. So the pre-order prices are good for these 2 weeks only. I am going to put another round of pre-orders up the first week of September, but they're going to be at the full prices. So if you want to get it at the discount price, I would say do it now during these 2 weeks. Let's see. I think that's everything. If you have any questions about this, I'm going to be putting the listing up in the shop later today, so you will be able to see that. If you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to PM me or email me at fibernymph@gmail.com. Actually, email is probably best because it's a shop-related thing. But anyway, I am super excited to do these. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Everybody loves to get fun little things that you can just play with and open. And, you know, maybe this would be a little gift you can get for yourself. Maybe it's something that you can ask somebody else to get you as an early holiday gift. I don't know. But I hope you're as excited about it as I am, because I think it's going to be a load of fun. And you won't know what you're getting. I mean, outside of, you know, what I've specifically said you'll be getting, but like colorways, you get something new every day. I don't know. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to doing these for you. So look for that listing. It's coming. And again, I'm hoping to have some of the kits for my outdoorsy headbands and neck warmers ready to go in the shop next week. It's just going to be a small quantity of them, and I'll put the rest up after I do my show on the 22nd. But I wanted to throw some in the shop ahead of time just so you guys can have first dibs on them. But I'll be recording before that next week, so you know, I'll tell you more about that once we have more time to talk about it. Or once I have more time to do it. Sorry. Boy, that made no sense. Anyway, okay. I think that's everything. I'm going to go. I actually have to take my dog to the groomer today. So need to take her there, and then I'm going to be home and I'm going to be working the rest of the day. So have a wonderful Monday and a great week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.